Alice was shocked when the lawyer read the will. Her grandmother left nothing to her, not even a trinket. Instead, the attorney handed Alice a small note meant for the grave. "Take my photo from the frame. Before we go on, drop a comment and tell us which country you're watching from, and make sure you're subscribed. I share real-life stories like this every day. Enjoy the listening." The news of her grandmother's passing hit Alice hard, even though Alice wasn't a little girl anymore. She cried until it felt like even the hardest-hearted person would have to look away. To Alice, her grandmother had been everything. Not just a relative or her father's mother, she was the whole world. A lifeline, a confidant, the one person who stood by her. Her grandmother had been the one to raise Alice when life around them became too small to hold both daughters. It wasn't that Alice's parents had died or were addicts. They weren't. They were hardworking people, but for some reason they never quite fit into the life the family needed. Alice's mother had a second child a year after Alice was born, and for reasons Alice could never understand, her mother seemed to drift away. Grandma picked up the slack, caring for the girls, making sure they were fed when both parents pulled night shifts. The family's routines were messy and tired, but Grandma's patience held things together. Still, as Alice grew older, she felt less noticed, less necessary. In her own home, she often felt like an extra, a child who didn't quite belong. When she was young, her parents did what they could. But as Alice grew, the attention dwindled. One day, her mother came home with a bag of clothes and some cash. Without looking up, she handed everything to Grandma and said, quietly and coldly, "You take care of her." Grandma sent Alice to her room and told her not to come out until she was called. Even in that small, dim room, Alice could hear the raised voices, Grandma's steady restraint and her mother's panic. "Anna, she is your child too," her grandmother snapped at one point. "What are you doing? Why are you splitting them up? Favorites and the rest." "Don't get involved," the mother snapped back. "You don't understand. We're barely getting by. How are we supposed to—" The argument ran on. "That's why we had another child," the mother said angrily. "Someone to help." Doors slammed. Alice crept out of her room, worried. Her grandmother looked tired beyond words, shoulders stooped from years of carrying the household. The younger sister, Annie, had been pulled into the middle of it all. The mother came by later that day, eyes avoiding hers. Grandma didn't waste words. "Alice, go back to your room. I'll call you when it's time." Back in her small space, Alice tried to do her homework, but the voices carried and distracted her. "She's old enough, let her go back home," someone argued. "Now you remember your daughter," another voice retorted. "Is the younger one not helping enough? She's in school." "So's Alice," a voice said. "What, are you turning her into a caregiver for a disabled husband? You pity the younger one, and the older one will ruin her life." "No, that's not true, Mom. She's my daughter. She's not obliged to help." Grandma's words were firm. "Remember how you left her? How many times have you come by? Given anything at the holidays? Then you have no claim." The conversation stung, and in the back and forth, it felt like Alice was the topic everyone argued over. Not a person, but a ledger entry. "Go on, Annie, don't poison my soul." "I won't give Alice away," Grandma finally declared. "If you keep this up, I'll go to social services and they'll take both girls away." The door shut. The mother left. That same day, Alice got even more bad news about her parents, news that quietly closed the door on any hope of the family coming back together. She finished 9th grade and enrolled in community college. University was out of reach. Grandma simply didn't have the money. So Alice decided to get through college first, then consider university later. From Grandma, she learned that her father had at least recovered some health, and that her younger sister was still in school through 11th grade. Her parents would help with the initial college fees. It stung. It felt like a consolation prize. But Grandma knew how to put things in the right perspective, and Alice accepted the arrangement with quiet grace. She got into college with no problems and kept living with her grandmother, who was growing frail with age. Alice threw herself into everything: studies, work, the small responsibilities that kept the household afloat. Mostly, she worried whether her grandmother would live long enough to see Alice married off. A wish that felt old-fashioned, maybe, but deeply rooted in their little world. Lucky for Alice, she already had a fiancé who supported that dream. The wedding was modest, but Grandma was there in the front row, tears in her eyes as she watched Alice in her wedding dress. Her parents behaved so terribly at the wedding that even Grandma couldn't hide her disappointment. "They rushed into it," she whispered to a neighbor, probably trying to save money. But the most hurtful words came from Alice's younger sister, tipsy and grinning meanly. "What's the hurry, huh? Don't tell me you're pregnant already," she laughed, pointing a finger at Alice's stomach. After that day, Alice didn't speak to her parents or her sister for years, not because she was angry, but because there was simply nothing left to say. She focused on her own life instead. Alice graduated from college with honors, quickly found a good job, and even received a company apartment where she and her husband moved in together. They started saving for a place of their own. They often invited Grandma to move in with them, but she always refused. "No, Alice," she would say softly. "I'll live out my years in my own home. I don't want to be in your way. Grandma, you could never be in the way." "We love you," Alice insisted. "Maybe so," the old woman sighed. "But I can feel it. My time's almost up. And now everyone's suddenly kind, helpful, so eager to check in, like vultures circling. Why, do you think? Your sister's expecting a baby and has nowhere to live, doesn't want to stay with your parents. So when I'm gone, my apartment will be the prize. That's why they're all pretending to care." Alice didn't argue. She never brought up money or inheritance. She just hoped Grandma would live for many more years. But fate had other plans. Her grandmother passed away before she could meet Alice's baby, the grandchild already growing inside her for 4 months. The call came from her mother. By the time Alice hung up, she was shaking so hard that her husband had to catch her and call an ambulance. Thankfully, both she and the baby were fine, but the doctors warned her not to get too emotional. Still, Alice attended both the funeral and the memorial. She sat quietly in the back, wiping her tears. Then, days later, came the will reading. She took a seat away from the family and listened silently. At first, she didn't expect much, but when she heard every name but her own, she froze. Grandma had left her nothing. The apartment went to her sister. The old rusted car in the garage went to her parents. Alice, the one who had been with her through everything, got nothing. Her sister smiled, resting her hands on her pregnant belly. Her mother shot her reproachful looks, and her father chatted casually with the notary. Alice stood up to leave when the lawyer called out, "Miss Alice, wait. Your grandmother left you a letter." He handed her an envelope. The family leaned closer, eager to see what it was, but Alice ignored them. She opened the note. It said simply, "Take my photo from the frame." Alice hadn't even thought about a gravestone yet, but suddenly she knew. She wanted to place that photograph there. It was an old picture of Grandma, young and radiant, smiling at the world. "Take it," her sister said lightly. "Take whatever you want. I'm throwing the rest out anyway." Alice went to the old house and took only the framed photo and a couple of albums. Then she returned home and put them away, not ready to look. Weeks later, when the time came to order the gravestone, she finally took the frame apart and froze. Behind the photo was a small folded note and a tiny key. "My dear Alice," the letter read, "I hope you are not angry that I left nothing to you. Believe me, I wanted to. But those vultures wouldn't have let you live in peace. And what would you do with my old apartment anyway? It hasn't seen a renovation in 100 years. This key, though, is for you, your husband, and the little one on the way. Take it and go to the address below." It was the address of a bank. When Alice got there, the clerk smiled politely and explained that the key belonged to a safety deposit box. Inside, Alice found stacks of money and another note. This is my gift to you in honor of your baby's birth. Let your sister worry about repairs and utility bills. You, my sweet girl, go buy the new home you've always dreamed of. The savings were started by your grandfather, and I added the rest. With all my love, Grandma. Alice cried as she read the letter over and over again. Her husband wept too, holding their little boy, who smiled through his tears, as if he somehow understood that these were tears of joy. Did you enjoy this story? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We love hearing from you, and I'll see you again tomorrow with another heartfelt story.